Starring Drew Harrison and Will Abeles.
Hello and welcome back. Drew, let me do the opening. This is going to be just sit down. 45 minutes of me talking. No, so welcome back to My Funny Friends. I'm one of your hosts, Will Abeles, along with one of my favorite humans on the planet.
Oh, thank you.
Favorite humans on the planet, Drew Harrison. Hi, Drew.
Nice. I appreciate it. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Good. I've got this sun right in my eyes, and it's going to drive me crazy the entire time.
The whole time.
I'm going to go absolutely mad if I just, but it's, you know what? I'm here for the craft.
I figured part of your 21-year-old lifestyle would be that you had like Jack Daniels beach towels on your windows. Is that not
okay? Who told you I had a Jack Daniels towel?
Do you have,
I really do. I really do have a Jack Daniels.
Okay, yeah. So I just figured you would have this taken care of, you know, with your swag, you know.
No, I got it at Dive Fest. It's actually not mine. I'm holding on to it for somebody.
Sure.
And they'll get it back one day, but until then, it's mine. Oh, this lighting is just gonna looks like I'm in prison.
Well, while you lose your mind, I'm gonna bring in our guest for the week.
Please do.
I don't think the sun's quite in his eyes as much, but
I'll just stand back in my bathroom and just yell from there.
I met this gentleman in Wilmington, North Carolina, of course, one of my favorite places in the world, probably number one. And he had been doing comedy for a while, bouncing around from North Carolina and New York. And I can't wait to just hear how it all started and what all went through everything. And now he's got a very successful bourbon podcast. So I can't wait to hear about all that. It's my good buddy, Jesse Jones. Jesse.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up, bud? The Jones Club, huh?
Yeah, the Jones Club, baby.
Yeah. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to see you. Nice to meet you as well, Will.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
I'm loving the setup you got behind you, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going for like Ted Kaczynski alcoholism is what I'm kind of hoping for here. There's
the vibe.
Bourbon barrels everywhere, and it looks like I've got like a couple bears behind me.
Hey, we call it a hobby. You know, It's not a problem. It's a hobby. You know.
Oh, yeah. Tell it to my dad.
It's not drinking by yourself if the kids are sleeping upstairs.
And you can't get in trouble for drinking if you have a successful podcast about it. So you found the loophole, my friend. That was very.
I did.
It's for science, you know.
I feel like I found the edge of the universe for that whole thing. It's like my wife is like, "Are you drinking again?" I'm like, "They're paying me."
It's my job.
The greatest way to monetize something is to let people know that you're getting paid for it, and then it's bottoms up, Sonny Jim.
Yeah, that's what I say about my heroin habit. I just decided for a lot of tests, and they're like, "Well, let's see what heroin does to the body," and I'm like, "I'm there." I'm completely kidding. For
who's paying? All the
Will's launching
the
his new podcast, The Heroin Showdown, starting next Wednesday.
The Addiction Podcast.
Yeah, that's my third
Dude,
podcast.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
The Addiction Podcast, where you talk to all the comics that have gotten hooked on something.
Well, that's what. How about the Addiction Podcast, where you get addicted to something for a week and then you talk?
Oh my God.
Oh, like it's like that documentary about McDonald's where you had to eat
Supersize
McDonald's for 30
Me.
days. Supersize Me,
yeah.
Except for it's just like, hey, this week you're just doing coke like for
a
week straight.
We're back with Special K Steve. He's been on the Special K wagon for a week. Let's see how it's going with him. I saw Jesus the other day.
I definitely don't want to be the man versus food version of that, you know? Like
no. yeah. Oh my God,
I don't want to be
awful.
the man versus food version of anything.
Very true. Very true.
Like
I love
how famous do you
even
want
the
to
second
be?
guy went away. Even the second guy was like,
Is he already out?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in a while.
God.
I mean, to be fair though, that's like most of 70s rock. Those guys just like that was their show. It was just like, give me a new drug, and I'm gonna drop another classic song that'll play on the radio for 40 fucking years.
They must have known something because they're all still
Yeah.
alive. So
I was gonna say a lot of those 70s
They're
cats
still
didn't
here.
die off.
Especially the British guys. They just don't.
Well, Keith Richards had a great saying: "Never start back on the amount you quit at." Like that's why all these guys die, because they try to like pick it back up at the height of their addiction, and then they die. You just got to start back at square one.
It's a terrible saying, but it makes so much sense.
His book is amazing. I don't read anything, obviously, so I listen to it, and half of it is Johnny Depp. Oh my God, dude! It's
Johnny Depp's the voice of it.
Yeah, and it's so good until Keith Richards takes over, and then it's shit. Like Johnny Depp doing Keith Richards was like, you're like, oh, this is endearing and charming. But then at the end of it, Keith Richards comes back in, and he just sounds like a put out cigarette.
Yeah, he was a guitarist for Eagles.
What's that? Oh, let's see. Who was the Eagles? It was Don Henley, and
Henley's the only one I know on the Eagles.
Yeah, I know.
And,
I'm sure there's more. Okay.
Oh my God, my dad.
Joe Walsh.
Joe Walsh. It was Joe Walsh.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you. And I was listening to Joe Walsh on Conan. He was on Conan's podcast, and it was just nonsense the whole way through. And he's sober now, but his brain is so fried from partying with Keith Moon and those guys. Just like
they say, just keep going at that point.
Yeah,
they say you have problems when you stop.
Yeah,
I think when you stop is when like everything catches up with you. You got to go the George Burns route and just let it steamroll.
Yeah, like that old. I always like those old grannies that you meet. They're 98 years old, and you're like, "What's the key to living this long?" And they're just
cigarettes
like,
and Miller Lite,
a cigarette and a gin martini.
Yeah. I started drinking at 14, and I'm 104 years old.
It seems to work, man. It seems to work.
I'm from a time when you could hate everyone, and people would high five you.
I think some of them live off hate at the later years of their later years. They survive to hate.
Yeah. Yes, I think that is true of the 70s rockers we're talking about too.
Yeah.
I have no clue how they all did that much partying together and now cannot even stand the sight of one another.
That's why no one can do reunions or anything.
Well,
I don't.
Can you imagine like a Justin Bieber or like a Harry Styles partying the way these guys party? Like they wouldn't be able to get away with it, No,
well, they would die. You can't go from like Harry Styles.
It's getting better too. Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta edge into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also we didn't have any of those bands. Like all the bands that we were coming up with, like you're not gonna, when NSYNC decides to get back together, nobody's gonna have to overcome a crippling cocaine addiction to get back on stage. It's just gonna be tell the boss at Target that you need the summer off, and then get back with Justin and the rest of them.
Well, I mean, watch out for Backstreet Boys. They got a Sippin in the bunch. You never know what those guys are.
Oh yeah.
Well, real quick before we get into your comedy story, Jesse, what you sipping on this evening?
I have got a delicious Redwood Empire out of California. These guys are upstate California, and every bottle is named after one of the standing redwoods of their area.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
Fantastic.
It's a cool story, and every bottle bought goes to philanthropy to help rebuild and make sure that we don't run out of trees. Nice. The guy that's Jeff Duckhorn's the master distiller of this place, and he is one of those cool cats that you can just talk to forever, and you don't have to be talking whiskey. You can just like go off on tangents and talk about anything under the sun. Now, so he's a good guy.
Do you find that a lot with your not small distillers, because obviously they have mass distribution, but
the cool part about whiskey is it is all based in agriculture. Yeah. So all of them, and I would say the larger distillers more so because it affects them more in the long run. A lot of these places now, some of the sourcing comes more farm to table with your smaller craft distillers, because it's like if you are who was I talking to in Ohio? Middle West is distilling in Ohio. That's farmland. That's farm country. So they, of course, are sourcing their corn from the vicinity that they produce in, because why wouldn't you?
Right.
But if you're Heaven Hill and you're making, let's see, they just opened a new distillery. They were producing 450,000 gallons a year, They just opened a second distillery. So at the end of 2024-25, they'll be producing another 450,000 gallons a year. That's 900,000 gallons of, keep me honest, I'm bad at math, but that will be, you couldn't source, that would be all of the corn in Ohio. You know what I mean? You've got to go to different places.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's why I wanted to tee you up with that question, man, because a lot of people are like, this dude's got a bourbon pipe. He just drinks and talks nonsense. Like, no, when you get this man started on bourbon, you learn something. And I appreciate that about it.
Well, I think that's why it's been so much fun to do. I get, Drew, you've known me for a while now. I've almost got like, I can't sit still. It's very hard for me to.
Very hard for you. Your brain never lets you take a day off.
So it's got to be interesting.
I think we bonded on that part. Like, because I'm thinking about a million things. You're thinking about a million. Every now and then they line up and we're like, hey, what about this?
But that's the cool part about riding together, because like the two of us get going and all of a sudden we sync up.
Dude. Yeah, it's.
Well, I had a bourbon question, because one of the debates I always see, and I never know what the proper answer is, but do you believe that bourbon is only made in Kentucky, or do you think it's only made in America? What's the honest
It is the American spirit.
Okay.
The misconception is Tennessee whiskey. I think that's what you're getting at. Tennessee whiskey versus Kentucky bourbon. Okay. And bourbon is the American spirit. The only thing you need to be a bourbon is to be 51% corn.
Yeah.
And a new oak barrel, white oak barrel, American oak, white oak.
Right. I knew that.
And you can only make bourbon in America.
Well,
only people.
You can only call it bourbon in America.
Okay.
But even that goes back to, and it's got to be a new barrel. It can't be a used barrel, and it has to have been aged. I mean, technically, you could put it in the barrel for a day and call it bourbon, but it wouldn't taste very good. In true American fashion, the American spirit did not come about because we were so proud of it that we wanted to make it the American spirit, the American bourbon.
Yeah.
During Prohibition, a lot of people moved their entire production down south or up north, and they were producing whiskey in Mexico, and they were able to do it much cheaper than you could in America. So once the government got wind of this, they were like, well, how do we stop that? I know, it's the American spirit. So the American spirit is stomping out the competition, and I think that
like
is
getting
a beautiful thing.
People behind the capitalist monsters make it patriotic.
Right. Wasn't that a whole thing? Is like George Washington's the only president that's ever like led an army to like put down like it was like the whiskey tax or whatever it was, and they had riots in West Virginia or something, and then he was like the only president that's ever actually led an army to like be like, hey, stop.
But I think that was also more to do with we had to pay off the debt from the war, and as soon as we had to do that, everybody. Like the whole reason we went to war is that, taxation without representation. Yeah. And then they immediately went and started doing what they had just stopped.
And that's just crazy. That's I'm just so un-American.
Money goes in our pockets, not theirs.
So it's you could make a case that it could have been anything and people would have probably acted the same way.
Yeah, of course. No, of course.
Well, we always like to kick off the comedy part. Because I mean, we could talk bourbon with you all day, but
with a history lesson, right?
Yeah. Or a half history lesson from me, where I was like, I don't know, it was like West Virginia, and like I don't know,
the barrels. I don't know.
George Washington was there; his teeth fell out. They used his teeth for barrels,
not bourbon because it wasn't white oak. He was quite the whiskey distiller himself, and there are a series of. And I got to correct myself. It's just a new oak barrel before I start getting hate mail for saying white oak. It just has to be a new oak barrel. Dude, you wouldn't be amazed if I say something the wrong way. I will get so much flack from people.
This is a serious world you're in.
In episode 22, you said that it could be anything that is not this or not that, but is actually that, not this. And you're like, oh my God, dude. Go have sex and enjoy whiskey. Don't make it hard.
Our hate mail is mostly just like, More Drew, less Will. And that's from my mom.
Yeah.
Right,
But Jesse, what year and where did you start at your comedy explorations?
Oh Lord, that's a multifaceted question, which is a lame answer. I started doing sketch comedy first.
Okay.
So I was in college, and again, it goes back to the probably ADHD problem. I was an art major in a fraternity doing 7 shows a weekend at the local sketch comedy club. And it was called
What college did you go to?
UNC Charlotte.
Yeah.
It's like UNC.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's like Chapel Hill if your dad's not paying for it.
I went to East Carolina, so I even went to a lesser version of that. So
There
nice,
you go.
Nice little dig there.
Yeah. ECU is like the UNC Charlotte with bed bugs.
Yeah. And gonorrhea.
Did you see that they have discovered a super gonorrhea?
Was it at East Carolina?
Did I create it?
Yeah,
Was.
it's fantastic. When I went to East Carolina, back in 2003, Pitt County had the highest STD percentage in the Southeast.
Even my parents knew about that.
Yeah,
I got into ECU, UNCW, and UNC Charlotte.
See, I did UNCW, ECU, and App State, and I wish I would have gone to any of them but East Carolina.
I got into UNCW.
I forgot about App.
Yeah.
Both of my parents were like, you can't go to UNC Wilmington, you'll never graduate because of the beach.
Yeah.
Well, when they sent me there to tour it, I funneled Crown Royal on the beach and missed the tour, passed out on the beach. So that was out. And then ECU, my dad was sort of like, you don't want to go to ECU.
Yeah.
And I trusted him because he was a truck driver in the 70s.
Yeah. Like, stay away from Greenville, North Carolina.
I also toured UNCW. I just was like overwhelmed by how big the school was, coming from a small town. Yeah. And kind of ironically, I went to Emerson College in Boston, graduated, went to New York, started working at Letterman, and I was a page, basically like a paid intern. But the first day, the guy I started with, he went to UNC Wilmington, and we would have been in the same class, same program, everything if I just gone there. And then we ended up being roommates. So it was one of these like destiny moments where I was like, oh, okay. And then we ended up sharing a trundle bed for 3 years.
That's hilarious.
Hey, sometimes it's going to happen the way it's going to happen regardless,
Yeah.
My buddy Kevin McCafferty, he has one of the cool.
Oh, I know Kevin. Stories. I just did a show with him like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, dude, he's the best, man.
Yeah, he's amazing. It's so nice.
We've known each other forever. His writing has gotten so freaking crisp.
Yeah, and he was a former page. He was a former Letterman page. Yeah.
Well, he went full circle. He went from page to stage.
I know.
That got to perform on the show before he retired.
Yeah,
which I can't imagine a bigger freaking. I mean,
it's like the end of like late night TV was Letterman retiring. Like late night stand up. I mean, was like Letterman retiring.
So too. Well, you could make a case for Conan ending.
Oh,
the show.
I agree. Yeah.
Because Conan did more for Conan and Dave and Carson did more for stand up comedy.
I love that Conan
on television.
Yeah, I mean Conan towards the end there definitely. At some point Conan was just getting so sad. You could tell his heart wasn't in it anymore, and then he like started traveling, and he got his mojo back, so to speak. And then that's when I feel like the comedy was really starting to kick off again.
But it was different when Conan got Leno'd. Like when Letterman got Leno'd, the landscape was still so small that you could go to CBS and it matter. By the time Conan went to TBS, it was like there's 900 late night shows.
Right. It was like Corden. There was everybody.
It was
Ferguson.
oversaturated.
Yeah.
So he really, but I mean, you can't feel too bad for him between the payout and what he made at TBS.
He owns 40. I wish I got 40 million to get fired from a job.
Yeah. And instead of just please leave.
Yeah. Sorry. So what were you saying about Kevin?
He's just a great guy. He's one of the first people I met in New York. Me, him, and Mike Trainer, we were all buddies way back in the day. And Kevin and Mike, of course, they got picked up for True TV something. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. You're never gonna hear this. It doesn't matter.
They had had a stand-up show, right?
No.
Okay.
True. World's dumbest.
Okay.
I'm happy with myself. They got on World's Dumbest, and that really opened up a lot of doors for them. And like Mike was one of the first people to ever take me out on the road, to tell you the truth.
Oh, cool.
And I've toured with Kevin a little bit, and we were all neighbors and we were all drinking buddies, and it was just a phenomenal time to be in your 20s. And you, Will, if you've been in New York, you know the camaraderie of the New York comedy scene is one of those things that just keeps you going.
Well, now I mean, I completely agree with you, but now I feel like it has gotten so big that it's like once you find your group, absolutely.
Right.
You know, but it can just become so spread out that you're like, who even is my group anymore? You know, like who's in the team?
Well,
but there was a time, absolutely.
Jesse, connect those dots for us real quick. Tell us how you go from sketch comedy in Charlotte to stand-up comedy in New York.
Yeah.
Well, I was in Charlotte doing the Perch, and the Perch was similar to Dead Crow. It was the alt room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
do you know what the Perch is now?
It is now Soul. It is a gastro pub in what used to be a very dangerous part of Charlotte, and now it's where you hear high-pitched people complain about prices.
Yeah.
It makes me sad every time I go by there, but then it makes me happy again because none of those people know that while they're eating their frickin' miniature crab cakes and their expensive, martinis with weird names, that I was doing a hillbilly fuck the goat rockabilly rendition. You know what I mean? Like we did so much weird shit there, and those frickin' hipster cats are never gonna know that they're eating where I probably had sex sometime. You know what I mean?
Like they don't know. I mean, you said it, but I was gonna say like they don't know how many cum jokes were thrown around that place. But then it's like, no, you don't know how much actual cum.
Oh my god, I'm never sure if I've not talked to him in a while. I'm never sure what the mythos of Stanhope versus his real personality cares that I tell these stories. But we had him there one time, and we were paying him in chocolate mushrooms, if I remember correctly. And it's the end of the night. My buddy Quay's making out with this girl, and Doug's just sitting next to me, and he's like, look at Quay making out. Quay, you motherfucker! Why, if you can't get it, if you're getting it and I'm not, then I'm gonna whip my dick out. And he was going through a whip his dick out phase of his career, and
as we all do.
We all strive to anyway.
I don't. I have not been through that phase.
That was a tough part of Drew's and my friendship when we first met. Was Drew was in his whip his dick out phase.
Yeah, you know.
That's what everyone says in Nashville. They're like, "Oh, man, Drew Harrison, he's always whipping his dick out."
Watch out.
Well, that's actually the first time I ever did stand up. Like really did stand up. It was opening for Stanhope, and I had maybe 2 minutes soaking wet, and I am just bombing. I mean, as I should have been. I had no. I shouldn't have been up there. It was our club though, and whenever we brought somebody big in, and I love Stanhope to death, so I'm sure he's tired of me telling this story, but I absolutely love it. I'm dying on stage, and out of the corner of my eye, I see him sticking his dick through the curtain just to fuck with me. The crowd can't see it. It's just him messing with me, and my instincts take over, and I'm like, well, I've got no better way to get off the stage than this. So I take a step to the right and introduce Stanhope's dick to the audience, and that's how I exited. It's like, all right, everybody, that's my time. Stanhope's cock. And he, puts it away and goes up and murders the room for like an hour 20.
Oh my God.
And it was insane. Fantastic. You want to talk about a learning tree? Watch somebody who can take the same material and make it brand new every show. He's got everything in the same place. He doesn't deviate, but he lets his imagination coupled with his own material drive the show, and that's what makes it entertaining.
That's awesome.
I mean, that had been such an experience as like a young comic opening for him and just watching him work and all that stuff. And that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and you guys, I don't know if this is still the case, because I when I was coming up, I did not distinguish between worlds. I thought comedy was comedy was comedy. So I thought, okay, there's sketch, there's improv, there's stand-up. I'll just do them. I didn't think
meaning
that
it's
were,
like comedy is all of it. Not just,
I wanted to be a part of it. So if it was a thing that I thought was a part of it, I would do it. And as maybe young people do, I just thought, that was what it was supposed to be. I didn't know until New York that it was all of those groups hated each other. I had no idea.
The one improv class I took, I remember I was the only stand-up comedian in the class, and I remember being a little arrogant about it, being like, these clowns have no idea what they're doing. And everyone else in that room, and it was like me, it was like 2 actresses, an IT guy, a lawyer. I mean, just people from all across the board. And they were so much better at it than I was, because but the fun part was my teacher
thinking jokes.
Thinking jokes. So I didn't watch
reality.
It and go, yeah, exactly. I didn't watch them and go, oh, that was funny. How do I make it better? I thought, oh, that was funny. How do I be funnier? Right. And it actually took like a couple of classes before my teacher pulled me aside and goes, I really like watching you because I've never done stand-up and I've only done improv. And I can see the way your brain's operating, but you have to start thinking as a team, because you keep just killing stories that are happening by making it your own. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll try and take that mentality. And since then, it's always helped with like crowd work and that kind of stuff. But yeah, very different.
1,000%. Like, I think all stand-up should take a few improv courses, because it takes you out of your protective bubble and makes you recognize what's around you.
Or like be a trivia host, or like do something different.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Like when I did Sex Toy Battleship, that's when I feel like I really
started thinking on your feet.
Stop being less of a robot on stage.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think there's something
takes that.
Yeah, I think there's some value there. And like, when we say heckler or, oh, I dealt with a heckler, it's always like kind of a negative connotation, right? Where it's just like, oh, I had to tell this guy to shut up or whatever it was. But if you learn how to get them to be on your side, I mean, that's a little bit of improv there, the kind of yes and idea of like, oh, this guy's talking, how do I keep them in the room and engaging and whatever.
You need both sides to that. You need to be able to shut a heckler down, and you need to be able to shut a heckler down in a way that makes him feel like part of the show.
No one turns on you, because the whole crowd, we've all been there where that comic goes one sentence too far, and now everyone's on the heckler side.
Yeah, and especially like when alcohol gets involved, there's a point too where you're like, okay, they're gone.
Oh, I stopped drinking on stage in New York. Like there was that period where you're just like, oh, you're learning how to do it, and you get a little cocky about yourself, and then you're like, well, this is heightening. And then that's why anybody that thinks they're fine to go up on stage twisted, record your set. Record every set.
Hear yourself
the first
stutter
5 years and listen back to it.
That's the whole reason
how fucking tight you are.
Yeah,
that's the whole reason we do that Stone Cold Sober show.
Oh yeah, it's so funny.
Just a mess.
It's so funny seeing comics that I've seen absolutely murder sober, try and do a set high, and their energy's different. They're just all over the place. They can't remember it. Same with drinking, but yeah.
Do you remember Gerard? And the Rice Krispie treat?
That's the example I use every time when I'm like, please still be able to do a set.
Gerard, is that the same Gerard that went up to New York and won the competition?
Yep.
Yeah. He's a great guy. I met him like once or twice, but very, very friendly. Very nice.
Yeah, he was so high, he ate a Rice Krispie treat and a honey bun on stage, and that was his whole set.
And then Timmy Sherrill, he
oh, that's the drunkest I've ever seen him.
Yeah, but he still did well.
Yeah,
he's still like
he was like what was it? Will Ferrell in Old School, where he's like, I blacked out. What happened? Did I do good?
Yeah.
But yeah, you did good, Timmy. You did good.
Yeah. Didn't you also tell me that Chris Allen got so drunk that he quit drinking after your show?
I don't know if it was like that. I don't know if we were his last drink, but yeah, he's sober now, and it was around that,
swing of things.
around that time.
That's great. And he's doing great too. There's another one doing great.
Okay,
I would always pick booze, because anytime I smoke weed, I turn into like a printer from 1974. There's no function.
So tell us about your early ons in New York. So you go to New York, you're doing stand up now.
Totally.
How was it?
I leave Charlotte because my girlfriend, at the time now wife, got transferred, and there's never oh, there's somebody I know with a job going. Yeah, I'll anchor my ship to that.
Yeah.
And you get there, and this is going to sound really weird. There's no sketch comedy in the land of SNL. There's no sketch comedy. There's
No
Hammer
way.
Cats. Yeah. I mean,
That's mind blowing.
2002, and
Yeah.
there's Hammer Cats, and Hammer Cats is already an established group, so they don't need new people. They've got their people,
Right.
and everybody is flocking to Upright Citizens Brigade because you're in the Tina Fey era of Saturday Night Live, and everybody, she was Second City, Amy Poehler, I mean, and they are all flocking to that. And
is the pit around yet?
What's that?
The
pit's around. The pit's around.
Okay, all
because
right.
the pit is an offshoot of UCB,
right? Yeah.
And so the pit was always awesome because you could do stand up and improv there both. So you could still get booked even after I stopped doing improv. You could still get booked at the pit because they had stand up nights.
Yeah, I ran a show there for a couple of years. Yeah.
Oh man, I loved the pit, and I loved UCB. I did UCB for a while. I had a team. You know, I had my team.
What was the name of your team?
Yeah, what was it?
SkyLounge. SkyLounge.
Well, that's like a nice name.
That was way less lame than I thought it was going to be.
And we had
something absolutely ridiculous.
When you were about to hit me with the lamest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
SkyLounge. I was like, come on.
Well,
all right.
Well, I think
we
for an improv name to
fuckers.
sound successful, it has to sound like a shitty band from the 90s.
Okay. I can see the album cover right now.
Right. Like
we're SkyLounge.
It was like around the time Creed was popular. It had that same Daltrey vibe. You know, you can see
like an old school like Smash Mouth
so you're
cover,
but
like Sky
a Christian rock improv group. Yeah,
because you're lounging with Jesus in heaven. SkyLounge.
Oh my God, I love that. A Christian alt rock group, SkyLounge. Praise be thee. Volume 2.
Did we just become a band?
Yeah, I think we might have. One
of us just needs to learn how to do anything.
Yes. I can sing if no one.
I was about to say I'm not singing.
I'll sing.
So, how did you like the change? Of course you will.
Loved it. I loved it.
From sketch to stand up.
Well, from sketch to improv was hard because sketch is a similar animal to stand up.
Do you like having that script, or do you like just having the idea and going for it?
Well, we were pretty tied up. I mean, we would do a new show every 2 weeks, and every show had an hour and a half of material. So 1 week of rehearsal and then we perform, and then 1 week of 2 weeks of the actual show. So we were turning over. I've still got notebooks full of sketches. That still honestly hold up to this day. Had some wonderful people come out of that. My buddy Sean Keenan, he taught me to write. Like, you know, the guy that taught that like you think, hey, I know what wacky is. You just go out and you're wacky. And there's got to be that one guy that's like, listen,
this is how you write.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Right.
That was Bishop for me.
Was that Bishop for you?
Yeah.
I can see that. See that. And when Bishop tells you something, you never know if he's being serious or not.
But then he gives you that tagline and you say it and brings the house down. You're like, thank you. I have multiple jokes of mine that Bishop just put the little cherry on top.
Dude, Bishop's like a cooler for me. If I'm on a show with Bishop, it's like I never, like, I don't know, mine, his energy cancel each other out.
That's
like
fair.
if he's hosting or if he's featuring, and it's like, I don't know. I think it's because I like him so much and I enjoy watching him so much that it almost like, oh fuck, no, I got to go to work.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
that was my favorite show I saw early on in North Carolina. We were at a bar next to a strip club. It was the first night I met Bishop, and we rode from Wilmington to Fayetteville together, North Carolina. And it was the night that radio host, preacher was saying the world was going to end. Remember he was freaking people out?
For like the second time, right?
Yeah. Well, this was.
Didn't he change it like several times?
Yeah. I think this
Heaven's
was
Gate?
first or second time, somewhere in there. I don't think it was a Heaven Gate guy, but it was like some prominent preacher radio host. And
Dr.
he's like,
Oz. He's now
he's
Senator
like, I've read the
Pennsylvania.
scriptures. This is what's going to. And so first night I met Bishop, he hands me a gun case and he's like, in case anything goes down, both of us have one. And we drove to Fayetteville, and it was a Wednesday night. No one was there, but also no one was at the strip club next door. So the strippers and the bouncers and the bartenders came over and watched our show. That was our audience.
Wow.
And
But
Bishop
those
was a
nights-
general manager at a strip club. So he had grade A, like he had a stripper fall out of her chair laughing so hard because it was all relatable. And poor Brian Deans is headlining and he's in the back freaking out. He's like, how am I going up after this? What do I even say now? Like Bishop just murdered it, and poor Brian had to go up and just try.
Dude, I love Bishop. He's always he's fun to hang out with. He's so dry, but still his writing is so crisp.
Yeah.
But those are the stories you need. You need that story. Like those are the fun times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you're bombing at a mic on a Tuesday, you go, you know what? At least it led me to this moment. You know what I mean? Like at least I had that one moment that happened.
Yeah.
Like I'll take that.
You learn a lot of shit in comedy, like a lot of things that apply to real life. Drew, you remember the show? I put it together. It was a hurricane relief show for Wilmington. And I had Drew and Bishop and Lou come up, and which it amazes me after all the years of doing comedy, how many of my good friends came from Wilmington that late in the game. Like just fucking love you guys. And we're doing the thing, and there is, and I'd love to get your guys' perspective on this. I think there's some age differences between you and Will, right, Drew? And
a couple years. Between the lifestyles.
Actually, the thing is, like, we're not that different in age. It's just
but he's still living that early
choices.
20 lifestyle.
Yeah, like emotionally, I've been 24 for about 8 years now,
and I'm happily 40. You know.
Yes, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, Drew sees me running around. He's just like, "All right, well, get the collar."
Like I can't wait to post my hot Jeopardy takes on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like that's where.
Yeah, and it just kills me every time he does. I see like his hot Jeopardy takes, and I'm just like, "Oh, I have to be in a car with this guy tomorrow."
Yeah.
Well, we're doing this charity benefit that I've put on. So I've got like all of the freaking press on my shoulders, or the bad press on my shoulders if it goes poorly. And
I'm sorry, what year was this? I remember this, but I just
like 18, 2000.
Yeah, okay,
right?
okay.
18 or 19.
It's when like
18.
the river got had the whole coal thing flood into it, right?
Well, no, it's when the hurricane it just sat on us.
Sat on top of Wilmington,
sat
right?
there. Like that's when
you
lost.
You lost your house and everything, right?
Yeah.
It
that
just
whole thing
literally destroyed Wilmington, and the show starts, and this girl, like, you know, you ever have audience members that they're just and she's sitting
arms
in the
crossed
front row in a mini skirt and no panties, and she's in the front row.
Didn't see it going this direction.
She's not. Yeah, you didn't see that. You didn't think that's where this was going, did you?
No, not at all. You started with benefit for hurricane victims.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we're at
no
panties.
No pantied girl, and she's.
And this is kicking
there.
off the show, right? Like, aren't you?
This
first?
is the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
I didn't even do a set. I think I did like up top.
You just went to talk and then brought Lauren up.
Yeah. So all I told her, because you know, comics, once you see something, you gotta say something. I see something, and all I say to her, I thought this was tame. I thought this was very tame. I'm going to make you laugh so hard tonight, you're going to slide right off your chair. I thought that was tame. It was, yes. And everybody laughed, and it was, I loved it. I didn't even think twice about it. After the show.
How did she feel about it?
Well, I found out afterwards when her twig boy boyfriend came up to me. And you know when a dude's not going to do something because he can't make eye contact with you?
He's got to show appearance.
Oh, but he's just like, I got to do something because the girl's watching. Yeah.
Hey, man.
Hey, man. Hey, man. Hey, that was a bit much.
Is this like exact?
I've got a bit where I beat somebody up with a Bible, so I immediately think that that's what was too far. And I was like, okay. All right, was it the?
I love that you had to go through the Rolodex. Like, how did I?
Yeah.
Bible joke? Yeah.
It was the thing with the Bible, and he said, "No, man, no. The thing you said." And I'm like, "Well, first, that doesn't what thing?" To and he starts like heading over, like his head nodding over to the girl, and I'm like, "Oh, she sends you over here? Yeah. You want me to go talk to her? That'd be great."
Oh, really? Okay.
That'd be great.
So I go over to talk to her, and I know that she sent him over to me because the first thing she said was, "That was a bit much."
So she put those words.
She put the words in the Rolodex. And you, Drew was with me that night. So the rest of the night, I'm sitting there like the kid from Dazed and Confused. Like, if I could just get one good punch in, and then everybody's going to break it up. But I was hosting the event. Like, it was my charity event.
It was, and it was a room you were trying to get off the ground too.
And it was a room I was starting. So
and
I'm still worked up about it. I'm still worked up about it, Drew.
You don't say.
Yeah.
So
I could hear the passion in your voice.
What got you? What got you from North Carolina, or what got you from New York back to North Carolina?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, once the improv group kind of grew out of one another and started hitting the street with, and the group had some great people. We had Aaron Camino Smith. He's a killer. And,
I know Aaron.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
He ran a show
Michael
called Living
Drucker.
Room. Yeah.
Drux was in the group.
Mike Drucker?
Mike Drucker, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Another great guy.
Dude,
great writer.
Drucker's an insane writer. So once the group sort of disbanded, and you know, the way that all things that require multiple people and everybody's in their early 20s do, like somebody got married and somebody got a real job and somebody had a kid and all of the things. Life can kill comedy. Aaron is like, you should start doing this. And he brought me out to the Gotham Comedy Club open mic, and he brought me out to, what was it? It was 14th. It was like West Side 14th Street. It was where I met Dan St. Germain and Mike Lawrence and Mark Norman and all those guys. Were what was it called? The something motel, the Morrison Motel.
Okay.
And they were all just these wonderful mics and supportive mics. Where, don't get me wrong, you had to have jokes. You couldn't go up there and die. You couldn't go up there and dick around. But if you had jokes, it was like a wonderful community. And so we started doing that. And then the next thing you know, you progress and you start your own show. And all of the little things that when you don't have any credits and you can't really hit the big rooms yet, you start learning your craft and doing it that way. And did that for years. And you know, got up to where you were touring with some good people. A trainer took me out on the road, went out with McCaffrey, went out with a bunch of folks. And then life kind of brought me back to North Carolina, where I had a son and he was about to go to school. And they were like, he's going to go to a school under a bridge next to a gas station. And I was like, no, he's not. That's not going to happen. So we moved back down here and we moved to Wilmington. And that's when I met this joker. And then it was like almost a rebirth, because I thought it was over. I thought it was like, you're going to do that. You're going to become that.
You'll tell your kids the stories one day.
Yeah. Just another guy that went out there and came home.
Yeah. There was a guy in Hagerstown like that who used to tell me, like, you know, he's one of my dad's friends, but he like used to do the road in California and like do the Comedy Store and stuff. And just stopped. He did for like 2 years and just stopped back in like the 70s, 80s, or whatever it was. Right. And it was just always this thing, like when he would tell me about it, I was like, I don't know if I believe you. You know, it was just and he was always very supportive. He was a great guy, but it was just this thing when he would tell me stories, and I was like, that's
why you got to keep the posters, people, to prove it later.
Always keep the posters
when they're taking you to the loony bin.
Keep all 42 of your remaining tour posters.
And also, Jesse, on the flip side of it, you coming in, we weren't in Wilmington. We were not used to new people coming in that had chops, you know.
Oh, so really?
You came in, because I mean, I love Wilmington to death, and I moved to Wilmington for comedy, but like no one was like moving to Wilmington, crushing it out of the gates, you know.
Well, I would argue that's how Nashville is now. It's like originally, I mean, you know, the last 2 years have definitely changed, but originally it was like no one's moving to Nashville to do stand-up. Now we're moving here to do stand-up, you know.
Oh yeah. my friend Tara, she's been there a lot recently, and she's just destroying every room she goes to.
Yeah.
I never knew that. The only thing I knew, Drew, right before I left, Sean Donnelly was like, it's one of those cool moments in comedy where I went to the cellar to say goodbye to Donnelly and see Louis sitting there. And somebody was like, don't bother CK tonight. He's not in a good mood. And I was like, I'm not here for CK. I'm here to talk to Donnelly.
Oh, and Sean's the nicest guy. Yeah.
Sean's the best guy in the world.
He did a birthday show for me, and I was like, what are you doing here? Like, I didn't know him, but he was like, I'll show up and do it. Like, I'll do a set. I'll impress your mom and dad.
I'll come by. He'll be fine.
Yeah, he was great.
I told him because you only see people when you're working with them. Hey, what are you doing? Which I don't know why my Donnelly, I've not seen him in a couple years. It's just turned into a bad Jay Leno.
See this? Hear about this? Yeah, no, it'll be fine.
And I said our goodbyes, and he is like, hey, look up this cat Lou Morgante when you get to town. He's a good guy.
No way.
He'll take care of
Lou
you.
better be the mayor one day.
Dude, Lou needs to be the mayor. There's nothing that sounds better than Lou Morgante, mayor of Hampstead. Like every part of that makes perfect sense.
Love it.
And Lou was like, hey, just come hang out. And I know the racket. You come into a new territory, you got to come in humble. So I went to a Saturday night show where I think Timmy had given Cam the Dirty Bird. Do you remember the Dirty Bird, that midnight blue show that Cam had?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Dirty Crow.
Is this the same Cam?
Yeah, same
Cam Boy.
Okay.
Cam Boy.
All right.
So
go on.
We had a dirty show because we had a lot of dirty comics, and they were really pushing, which they still do. Which I mean, they really pushing. Hey, don't do that crap on the weekends. Like,
please don't do that crap on the weekends.
Like, so here's your show. Go to town. And we would try
let it out. Yeah.
And I mean,
because
I would
funny.
Always go hang out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not. I don't have a notebook of jokes I'm dying to tell at the dirty show. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
right.
I would go and hang out.
You don't have your side notebook where it's the real Drew.
right.
Or something like that. Yeah.
But it was cool. They could get it out of the way, like not out of the way, but they could get it to where
out of their system.
Yeah. They weren't like, because I remember it's so funny you brought up Cam. Timmy used to give him, he could drop one F word a weekend. So he had to and it actually it kept him in his mind so much. He was like, when am I going to use it? When am I going to drop it? So it was amazing. Genius, really.
I love that.
So yeah, that was my first show was the Dirty Bird. and I was
welcome to Wilmington.
I'm so glad you came back after that, because those shows could be brutal.
Well, and that's what Lou was there, and we hung out a little bit, and he was just like, it's so much better.
Yeah,
it's so much better than this. Just
I can hear Lou just being a sweetheart in my head.
Oh, dude, he's such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Just come on Thursday. Come on Thursday.
Oh, yeah. Thursday's a game changer.
And Thursday's a game changer. Will, like every mic in the city where it's just like only the comics in the back room and nobody's listening, and you're
of course they're also looking at their notebook and they're just writing down the hottest dick joke they thought of that day. Yeah.
Yes. How many things rhyme with dirty words? Wilmington has the exact opposite. They've got I go there on a Thursday for an open mic, and not cocky, but
you walk in anticipating trash.
Well, yes.
You're thinking like the Grizzly Pear, or you're thinking the old, you're just thinking like a.
I can imagine
a 6 p.m. mic in New York where it's just like, I'm gonna walk in, I'll say hi to my one friend, and I'm gonna count down the minutes until this is over.
And then
I can imagine the mixture of New York open mics and the Dirty Show. I can just imagine what you thought this open mic at Dead Crow was going to be.
Well, I also thought my career's over. Like, this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a bad way,
but also in a whatever way.
But your heart is in your stomach, and you're going, oh no.
Just like there's nothing. Let's just go. That
was me in Twin Kegs when I first moved to Nashville. I remember walking to Twin Kegs, and I was like, I moved here for stand-up, and I am going to also retire from stand-up. And then, you know what? I was completely wrong. It ended up being really fun for a couple of months. Yeah.
And that was the thing. Like, that show completely reinvigorated me. And then it was like, holy shit, and I met Drew, and I don't know if I met you that night. I think I met Bishop that night and Steve that night and some of the local guys, and it was like, oh my God, they're supporting one another.
Yeah,
Holy
right.
shit. Like you get off stage and they're genuinely happy that you did well. There's
not, some notes.
Yeah. Well, not
like,
even
hey,
notes. Like you know how when you get notes, sometimes they're notes that are set up to make you fail. Like, you know what I would do? I'd probably change that punch. I'd change
I probably wouldn't
punch.
tell that joke at all.
Yeah. Just get rid of it. They were
I'd probably do everyone a favor and quit.
yeah. There was none of that. It was just like, dude, welcome. That was fantastic. You want to come have a beer? And it was off to the races.
It's so much fun in Wilmington to do comedy. You know what I mean?
Wilmington's the absolute best.
The pressures, that's what I love so much. They have somehow taken Port City's top comic,
right,
and put all of the competitive pressure of the entire year into that one weekend. So everyone hates each other that one weekend, but the rest of the year, everyone just is like, hey man, good for you. You're crushing it, you know? And I love it. It's a weird science experiment that it actually worked to begin with, but it's insane, but it does.
But that's also why I never did it.
That's fair. That's fair.
I designed the logo.
Because what did you have to prove? You know what I mean? Like you came down, like, you know, like,
not to sound that way, but I even designed the logo.
No, I mean,
for the
in a
top
good
comic.
way. You know what I mean? Like top comic is so you can get in front of Timmy and Amy and get weekend spots.
Right. Well, and also competition.
You come in with chops and you already get the weekend spots. Yeah, I wouldn't do it to myself.
I don't need it. Yeah.
But it was also, I saw that happening where everybody got all freaking butt hurt that one weekend of the year, and it was like, nah, I want everybody to be happy and fun.
Yeah, and you would see the people that got super butthurt, they'd disappear for a few weeks, and then they'd come back, and everything would be great. It was like
nice. WrestleMania, like when the main dude loses in the main event, and then you don't see him again until SummerSlam.
Yeah,
this is why I don't do comedy competitions, because if I don't get in the top 3, I would burn the city to the ground. I would just be like, oh, I'm gonna disappear for 2 weeks. I'd be like, and now I have to burn every bridge I've ever made in comedy.
Well, I learned that back when Morty's was still open. There was I can't remember what the name, I think it was called there was some competition, and I made it to the finals and I didn't win. And there is, even when somebody crushes, nothing will bring out your most vitriol, just your that beat me. You immediately forget everything that you got into this business for when there are wins and losses on the board.
You hate all human life.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, I don't need this. I don't need that in my.
That was like a thing. I never did the competition because I'm not a Philly comic, but I have a lot of Philly friends because I used to go down there pretty often, like once a month. But between 2020 and 2019, I was going down to Philly pretty often. And when Philly's Funniest would come around, it was amazing seeing best friends. I mean, roommates just absolutely turning on each other for Philly's Funniest. And the funny part was, it was always a guy from New York that won it. And
or Chicago, right?
That's what we always
Chicago,
prided ourselves. We always, if you got eliminated in the first round, you'd come back and be like, as long as a Wilmington comic wins. As long as you keep it local, we're okay.
It got bad enough that I was doing a show in Philly once, and I started the set by going, I was like, yeah, I'm in town from New York, so I can train to win next year's Philly's Funniest. And and the room just lost it because they're all like, yeah, that's just how it is. Well, Jesse, I meant to ask you, did you ever come across Alex Grubard while you were in New York? Was there a name that
sounds extremely familiar?
Because he used to be the young guy, and then eventually he kept aging, as one does. But I know he was in New York around that time, and he was a early mentor for me. So I'm always curious to see who runs across him.
Was he? Yeah, we're friends.
That's right.
There he is. Yeah, I know that cat.
Yeah, so he was in New York for a bit, went down, he turned like 24, 25, and then was like, I need to go to college. So he went down to Temple in Philadelphia, and now he runs a pretty successful show called Weeding Out the Stoned.
Oh, that's awesome.
Where it's like 14 comics, one sober, the rest are all stoned, and the audience has to figure out who's the sober comic. Yeah, it's a pretty fun
fantastic.
Show. I want to be the sober comic and go up with my laid back style and see if people.
I won it the first time around. I was the stone guy. I was like one of the last ones I've ever smoked, and I ended up winning it.
That's fantastic. All right, so Jesse, you had to come in and fit in Wilmington, and we embraced you with open arms. And then you weren't with us for a long time. You had to take your talents to Charlotte, to the Western North Carolina.
Yep. I think I was with you guys for 2 years, which is crazy because it feels like a lot longer than 2 years.
Yeah.
But that was because we were on the road together and we were doing fun shows.
We were balls of the walls those 2 years, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we made the most out of those 2 years. And I think Comedy Bingo is where I built my first real hour.
You could go in and just do 20 minutes.
Yeah, man. In New York, you were doing 5 to 7 or at most 18. And if you were doing 18, you were doing the tightest fucking 18. Like you could crush a diamond in your tits. That's how fucking hard you wanted that 18 to work the best it possibly could. Yeah. Because Chris Mazzilli might wander into the room that's not the main room that you're in and hear laughter. And I remember you get off at like the Gotham basement show and the
Vintage Lounge.
The Vintage Lounge.
Yeah. Not as cool as the SkyLounge.
Dude, first rule of comedy, be nice to everyone. Don't be a dick ever. So many people get that wrong.
Well, there's one of them.
But Vintage Lounge, tip that girl behind the bar downstairs.
Oh, we'll always treat the bar staff great.
Always treat the bar staff, but especially when the loudest ice maker in the history of comedy is at play, be nice to her. There were so many guys that I would see be a dick to her, and then guess what happened? Every punchline
came back.
That freaking ice tunnel would open up, and you know that's what you get if you're dicks beget dicks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Fair, very fair.
Put that on my tombstone.
Put that on my tombstone. Dicks beget dicks. It's going to confuse the hell out of my family.
So how was breaking into the Charlotte comedy scene? Because I mean, I'm sure you dipped your toes into
different.
North Carolina, like, so you knew some people.
Well, everybody from back in the Perch day, they like Speedo, Dave Williamson. He had moved to LA. He's touring successfully with Kreischer right now. Keenan moved to not LA. He moved to Atlanta. He's working on Marvel movies now, or Marvel TV shows now. So my base was gone. And I just used that New York mentality of let's start a show, and started the factory with my brother from another mother, Andy Grosso. Andy Grosso. He's so much fun to do wrestling commentary with. We've started doing wrestling shows where he's the good guy announcer and I'm the bad guy announcer.
That's fantastic.
And there's nothing more fun than being Bobby the Brain Heenan for a night.
Yes, dude.
It's fantastic. But yeah, we started the factory, and all you really need to do to get plugged into a new scene is be humble and give people a chance to see you. So I started booking younger guys and booking new people and people that I might have remembered or might have met at one point before. And all of a sudden it just, the fuse got lit, and, a lot's to be said for having jokes, and you got to be able to actually produce that's the thing I think a lot of people forget, is that it is a job. Yes. Like, it's a very fun job and it's a very rewarding job. But when it comes time, like what was the show we did in Nashville where they turned the lights off and I had to go up and do a set in the dark?
Comedy bar.
Yeah.
Wait, you had to do that?
Yeah.
Comedy bar.
Yeah,
God damn it.
Dude, man.
Yeah. But I'm trying to show this dude this new club. Like,
yeah, I did love that. It was like, because it was also a COVID spike, I think it was like before the vaccine, right? Or like right when the vaccine's coming out, and they're like, hey, we know you're risking your lives to make us money, but we're going to turn the light out on you, or you're going to do 1 minute of oh my God, don't even get me started.
Right. We're going to spin the wheel. And,
spin the wheel, and then just, also here's a handgun so you can fucking end it for all of us,
But it's the same thing. It's like if you can rock the crowd in the dark, you know what I mean?
Oh,
which you did. You did a great job.
But God damn it.
I went up after you made it way easier.
Yeah, but it bothers me because it's like we're not clowns. We take this very seriously.
And,
you know what I mean?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
My buddy Doug, he See You in Hell. He started that show See You in Hell a long time ago, and I love Doug, but I never did the show because I never wanted to do comedy in a bear suit. I never wanted to do stand up where
you never did our shot collar show.
I never. Nope. I love you, brother, but I never did the hot sauce show. I never did.
Yeah. Wilmington went through a super weird gimmick show phase.
There was a minute or two.
It was the only way we could get people.
You said shot collar and hot sauce show in the same breath. Like, it's a weird phase.
That's where Stone Cold Sober was born. We had that
Stone
speed
Cold
joking.
Sober was fun though. Stone Cold Sober, it was like
I enjoyed speed joking too, though.
Well, it's still stand up.
I don't remember speed joking.
Yeah.
It was like speed dating and telling jokes. You'd go up the first time you have a minute, and we don't hit you with a light or anything. We just hit you with a buzzer, and you got to stop. And it's a rotation. So then the second time around, you get 30 seconds. Then you get 15 seconds, and then you get one line. So people that were most successful would pick up where they left off last time, and it was fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the difference is that's a show you sign up for as a choice, as opposed to spinning a wheel and being
very
told.
true, very true. Because we had to get waivers.
But See You in Hell is like, the Grim Reaper is going to come out and he's going to stick 3 fingers in your butthole, and you're going to have to tell jokes while there's 3 fingers in your butthole, and you'll be like, no, I don't.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Like
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna not do stand up tonight. Yeah.
Well, it seems like you got in Charlotte at the right time, man, because it looks like you guys are having quite a bit. We were just talking to Don Garrett about it not too long ago. About it's just a resurgence. Lauren Ainsley's doing a lot. Like you
Lauren's
got
awesome.
We got a lot of shows. Like I remember there was not a Charlotte scene when I started in North Carolina.
But that's the beauty of what's going on right now. And the Comedy Zone has a lot to do with that. They have cultivated younger talent, and they've given them a place to go on their Tuesday nights at the Charlotte Club. And
that's nice because they didn't used to invest into the local.
Well, I was gonna, and that might make some of the older folks roll their eyes, but that's what they're doing, and they're smart to do it that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they're building a local scene, and then those people that learn go off and start their own shows and do their own thing, and that only makes the scene better. Jason Allen King, Tara Brown, Don Garrett, Lauren Ansley, Blair. You can't say anything
Blair
about Charlotte without Blair.
Blair Postman?
No,
yes.
nice.
Yeah.
Blair, nice.
Oh, okay.
Blair,
2 different Blairs.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. I'm thinking Blair from Wilmington. No, I got my Blairs mixed up. Yes, the one Drew said.
We've had Blair on the podcast. I'm not allowed to talk if Blair's name's mentioned because she'll text me and be like, "You can't speak well. You don't speak well."
No, Blair, nice. She did a lot of really fun shows. She was the first person to put me up at the Charlotte Comedy Zone.
Really?
Yeah, she had like a Tuesday show, and that's how I met Keith D, who I've been doing shows in Charleston with. So I owe a lot to Charlotte.
Yeah,
I'm doing a cancer benefit with Keith in August.
Nice. We'll actually be down there on Monday.
Yeah, we're gonna
really.
Be there mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome.
That
poster is he in the poster that you sent me?
Will is.
Yeah, I'm
that is a phenomenal Three Amigos poster.
Oh my god, I want to print it off so bad.
Morning.
Yeah, I texted Drew. I was like, "We got to get this printed." And he was like, "No, Will, no, calm down. This is why you're poor all the time." No, but I do think that's really important. Like to have, if you're in a smaller scene, the club just supporting the local scene and trying to make it grow. I mean, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Jesse? You had your phone.
It just shows foresight. It shows that they know what will grow the community.
Yeah. Right. And where you get your talent from. Yeah,
where you get your talent from. You're always show's always better with a good host and a good feature than it is with a random guy number 1 and a random guy number 2.
Yeah. So, I noticed that with Vermont Comedy Club, very small town, very small scene, but they almost always have a local host at the minimum. It's so good. It's so good for the club and for the scene and everything. Yeah,
well, it makes everybody feel like they're moving forward.
Exactly.
They have something to work towards. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you hit Charlotte running. You're part of this rebuild. How did the Bourbon Showdown podcast come to be?
The pandemic. The pandemic shut everything down, and
Not
there's
here.
nothing. Oh, you guys didn't?
No, I'm
we
just
we,
playing.
No,
we
no, I did.
closed
I was in
hard.
Maryland. We didn't do. I didn't leave my house until
I had to go.
June
I
of
still had to
2020.
go to my day job, but I came straight home after that.
Yeah, no, I just sat around and prayed that someone just took my life.
Oh, I think I went through like the 7 stages of grief on Instagram and TikTok.
Oh yeah.
I go back and look at those days where it's like, I've got nothing else to do. Let's dress up like Hulk Hogan and sing the Frozen theme song.
It's
I dealt with it by making sad Sports Center commercials.
Well, that was all of us.
You know, I have a video of me just like shooting a bow and arrow for like an hour straight. I'm not gonna tell you where I got the bow and arrow from.
Yeah. I'm shooting a shotgun on camera and it's getting 17,000 likes. I'm like, we're all in a weird place right now. Do you remember that scene in The Waterboy where Henry Winkler's talking to his grandma about how he didn't get the job and they pan down and the cord's been cut and he's wearing high heels? That was all of us. Person in America the first 3 weeks of that year.
That's a great analogy.
Around that time, I've always been in New York. I was on a Scotch kick because New York gets cold, and I truly believe you need cold. Scotch and cold go together for me. That's not
the only time I can drink Scotch.
Well, that's yes.
I'm just not a big Scotch fan.
Yeah, and I'd been drinking bourbon since Wilmington. And I had enough followers on social media that when I would say something about bourbon, I would start getting shit in the mail. And my wife, who is much smarter than me, and she is the VP of a ad agency, I was like, "Hey, honey, I said something about bourbon, and then all this stuff came in the mail about bourbon. What am I missing?" And she was like, "Well, you're an influencer, or I know that's got negative connotation behind it now, but she was like, they're hoping that you and your audience will like what they want you to like." And I was like, "Well, I don't like everything. So what do? I'm particular." And she goes, "You're going to have to split them or you're going to have to keep them together. But no, if you keep them together, you're never going to be able to split them." So I kind of made the choice to keep comedy separate from bourbon. And I started the Bourbon Showdown in November of 2021. And now, like, just by doing what we're doing right here and being honest, and the beauty of this medium is you don't have to agree with everything. I think we show flaws, we show warts and all when it comes to this. A lot of warts in Will's case, but the takeaway is you're getting like a hint of who the person is.
Mm-hmm.
And we just started talking bourbon, and I was able to get people that make bourbon on the show. And because that was always the thing, you go on a bourbon cast or podcast or video or YouTube, and it's always a guy talking to 3 of his buddies about what he likes or doesn't like about the bourbon. And I didn't care about them. I wanted to know, well, they didn't make it, you know?
Yeah, right. I love it.
Yeah, there's critics at that point. Yeah,
they're just critics.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to the people that actually made it and get their input on what I didn't know. Like go same as Wilmington, go hat in hand and just acknowledge what you don't know. It's the way you fill out a crowd and stand up is you look at the crowd and you be honest. You're honest and vulnerable and tell them what you don't know, but still go there with a purpose.
Right.
And that's what I did. I just sort of started interviewing these people. And then just like comedy, word gets out when somebody's not full of shit. And you get a couple good interviews and then they enjoy talking to you and they benefit from what you're doing because you're getting their brand out there to other people. And it just sort of went from there. And then Ron White came on the show.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No way. That's so funny. Okay.
And he was a great guy, and we still keep in touch now. Me and his manager, especially. And it was just, don't be a dick. It comes back to don't be a dick.
Yeah.
And you let the people that are proud of the thing that they're on there to talk about be proud of the thing that they're on there to talk about.
Yeah.
And just like comedy, my skin was already sort of thickened up to when you say something incorrectly, people come at you. And if you say something that's not in the right way, or, you're not saying it what the public opinion, people come at you. So that didn't really bother me. I already had that out of the way. So
right.
when
So
I
you can take the critics
something
online and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If you don't agree with me, I bet you still went and bought a bottle to disagree with me.
Right.
So I win.
I win.
Yeah.
What's been your favorite episode so far?
It's a split between Alan Bishop of Spirits of French Lick, and him and I talked for an unprecedented 2.5 hours.
Oh my God.
And we went from everything from whiskey to wrestling and back. And
is it French Lick? Is it Larry Bird's French Lick?
Spirits of French Lick. It's a distillery out of Indiana.
Yeah, that's where Larry Bird came from.
Then yes.
That's hilarious. Okay.
You know, Drew, that I know nothing about sports.
That's fair. He was the
Larry
hick
Bird,
from French Lick.
Yeah, he's
Larry Bird from
he's
Space Jam.
The guy from Boston, right? No, I know who Larry Bird is.
The opening credits of Space Jam.
But yeah, but it was like he was great, and him and I we're still, I'd say, a step past like we're good friends in the sense that when we see each other next, we're gonna hug. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a good guy. And then the tops was probably Eddie Belfour. I'm a huge hockey nerd, and Eddie came on the show to promote his whiskey Belfour, and just listening to him tell hockey stories.
Yeah, man, he was
from the golden age.
Yeah,
where he didn't want to talk about the ground level stuff. He didn't want to talk about his fights, and he didn't want to talk about that level of it. He wanted to talk about like the weird shit.
Yeah.
Where he was like telling me a story. There was a streaker at a hockey game, which just put the physics of that together doesn't make any sense. And a streaker got past security, gets onto the ice, falls down immediately. You know why? Because he's naked on the ice, and he sticks to the ice.
No shit.
He's naked on the ice. And there's one part of you that is like the tongue of your body, and that is the part of him that stuck to the ice.
Oh no.
And the referee and security, and this is him telling the story, did not give a shit that he was stuck to the ice. They grabbed him and they yanked him like a Band-Aid off of that ice.
Jesus.
So
hey,
that poor
I guess
guy,
you get what you get,
He's not giving anybody the tip in a while, because that tip is lost to Dallas.
Oh, well, Jesse, I could talk to you for another 2 hours, man, but we got to wrap it up. Where can they find you on the social medias of the internet?
They can find me for comedy at Jesse Jones Comedy on Instagram, Twitter at Jesse Jones. You got to be careful if you go on Twitter looking for Jesse Jones, because there's a Canadian porn star who spells his name just like me, only he's Jesse Jones XXX.
That's what I'm going to go follow them. Yeah,
look up Jesse Jones XXX.
Follow
I need everybody
Jesse
listening
Jones
to this to do me a favor. Go to Jesse Jones XXX and write him how funny he is, because I'm super tired of getting his fan mail about how awesome he is. So I talked to him.
Love your dick, bro.
every couple months I talk to him. So I want to be able to ask him, have you gotten any of my fan mail?
That's
and hear
hilarious.
yes, one time.
Yeah, do it.
And then for the Bourbon Showdown, just find at Bourbon Showdown on all of the things: YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, anywhere that you listen to things, you can find the Bourbon Showdown. And we've got a new season coming out pretty soon with everybody from Michters to Aiden English from the WWE.
Yes.
To shit, I'm spacing on the best.
How many
names.
episodes do you do a season?
We do 12 a season.
Okay.
And we're going to have our 50th episode here in the next season. We're having Heaven Hill back on. They were our first guest. They came back to be our 50th guest. And then we're going to have Mark Cuban on. We're going to have Hank Williams Jr. on. We've got some good people coming on that are going to talk whiskey and spread the good word with us.
That's fantastic, man.
So,
well, Jesse, I can't wait to see you in the next. I get to see you back-to-back months. I get to see you in July and August, so I'm excited about that.
I've got some goodness for you when you get here. We're going to have a fun night that night of beer. Really funny.
Good. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in again. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Catch up on all past episodes, and we will see you next time.
Very well.